Stephen Lawrence Charitable Trust have been providing a platform for young people across London to be involved in local regeneration projects. This is an opportunity for them to have their voices and opinions heard and engage in a meaningful way with architectural practices and developers in having a say for the services that are being built and designed for them. We designed an engagement program that focused on creating opportunities for young people, but also engaging with the local community.
The project that we're working on at the moment is the Carlton and Gravel project in Brent for Brent Council. The community aspect of the project is actually really important. We're a practice that really enjoys working with the community, and so that's really important. This is a mixed-use scheme, so there's quite a lot of different aspects to it. There's a bit of housing, there's also some workspaces. I think our approach in general is trying to find a way that all these different users can kind of gel together on the site and work to create a kind of a new centre for it in a way. So we've been working closely with the Stephen Lawrence Trust on this, and also we've been running some work experience as well with a couple of young people at the office, and they've been really great, sort of critiquing us, telling us how we should improve, and thinking about in particular the public spaces, because this is something that we think probably quite a lot of local young people will be using.
I've lived in Brent my whole life, so a lot of what happens in terms of community regeneration and architecture is something I've always been interested in, and something I've always hoped that other young people could get interested in as well. I think what I want to see done in terms of young people is a mass rollout involvement, but done in a way that is taken seriously, as not to fulfill a quota or to attempt to understand young people. Do it so that they feel as if they have choices that are being taken seriously, and if they have a decision, because a lot of young people have myriad of opinions, but unfortunately they kind of go into an engine that gets filtered into nowhere. So if we can not promise, but find a way to propose to young people that decisions that they are making will have some effect and show them concrete evidence of doing so, that will probably be the most effective way of getting them involved.
I think younger people should have a say as they're the future generation who would use these community spaces, and therefore having their opinions into what is going to be built should be a vital thing. You don't want a building to be just built just for the sake of it or because of the opinions of elder people, which would be biased, and then the building is just left there because the younger generations may not be interested. So I think having different opinions make the data free of bias, and people would be able to express themselves clearly on what they think would be good and what they think would not work well.
I've attended a few consultations, and I've also had 1 week work experience within the Brent Council, specifically the regeneration team. I think using schools as a way to attract young people is really significant, because if you're interested within the project and stuff, you can ask your teachers, so it's not like an external factor you have to ask is stopping you. So I think going through schools would attract a large amount of people. Even though I've been living in the area for quite a while, I'm not really sure what goes on there, and I think that's due to a lack of communication within the people there and the Granville, and I think it could be organised better so for people to know what's going on. I think creating a space just for them to use will be beneficial for everyone.
I think it is important for young people to have a say in the consultancy, because when I personally went to one, I saw that there was a lot of people there, but they were all above the age of 45, and I think that if old people have a say in this, it is very biased, because they will be thinking about them and they won't be thinking about the generation which is below them. So I think if young people get involved into consultancy meetings and have a say in this, I think that it will have a great impact on the community, because their opinions matter more than the people who are already aged.
I've been to many different consultations regarding this project, and I've talked to the architects involved, including young people in large community projects. It makes sure that they are part of a community, makes them feel welcome and in a place where they're wanted and their voice is heard. If you're trying to approach a young person, you have to think like them, and if you are more assertive, then they won't listen. You have to be on the same level as them when you speak to them. A lot of the time, around that age, people are not sure whether they're adults or children, so they talk to them in a childish way, but at that age you feel like you're an adult and you should be going forward with things like this. So if you want them to be interested in something, you have to speak to them on an adult level, and you have to try and get them to understand what you're saying but not make it sound childish. I think if you're approached by yourself, then it's only your opinion that's heard, whereas if you're in a large group, then people might speak over you.
I'm involved with the Stephen Lawrence Trust as I'm a student alumni member, and I was asked, being a resident of the Borough of Brent in North West London, to get involved with this project in terms of my ideas being a young person and how I think we could be incorporated into, regeneration and development projects. I think without using the title regeneration, I think young people are interested in giving their ideas, into any change that can be implemented in the environment around them. And I think before the young people hit the age of trying to make career decisions, so say the beginning of high school or secondary school, where they've just come in fresh, they're just there to give their ideas, and their ideas are they're untouched, they're unique, and they're uninfluenced, you can say, because they're just coming personally from, them without thinking about too many parameters. If you, hear regeneration and you're not even interested in regeneration, you're interested in music or dance, and you think, well, that's not something I'm interested in. But I think social media can be used to access those people as well, because everybody uses social media. So, it could be a conversation where maybe we don't use terms like regeneration, which sound very architectural. We use terms like, in terms of Brent, Granville or South Kilburn, or use terms that young people use. I know they used to call South Kilburn SK when I was younger. Change in SK, what's your say, what do you have to say about that kind of thing, and things that get people involved.
Projects that involve kind of community uses or public space or even new housing, they're creating spaces which are for us all. And obviously young people are the users of the future, but they're also the users of the present. And very often they have a very kind of astute knowledge about how public spaces work, and precisely how high a fence should be, whether a public space will turn out safe or not. So there's a lot of wisdom in that kind of experience of people who've lived in an area, who actually use public space a lot, because young people, because there aren't so many facilities, there aren't youth clubs, young people are often very heavy users of public space and really understand how it works, and are subjected to huge kind of pressures, and are often, seen as, making trouble when they're not. I guess it's really important that we consult and engage people when we do public projects, and what we find, it's more difficult for us to attract young people to come to those events, and we kind of really badly need that to happen. So we're looking for how we can make that happen, make that better. What do we have to do? How do we have to talk? What language do we have to use? What kind of social media do we have to, what could we use? What could we be doing to make that happen?
We placed young people in work experience opportunities both within the architecture practice and also within the Regen team at Brent Council, giving young people a real insight into regeneration and what's happening in their capital. We're hoping that councils, developers, architecture practices look to this project as a good case example of how young people wish to be consulted with in local regeneration projects. An opportunity for them to be heard, to have their say, to look at non-traditional routes as to how to engage with young people and offer them meaningful opportunities, both skilled opportunities, but also just the opportunity for them to have their voices heard.